remember being in El Salvador, and after I did that show in El Tunco, right on the beach, this restaurant right there called Bar La Guitarra, this woman came up to me after the show and she was just like, I have to tell you something. Your music has this certain aura to it, and it's a healing thing, the vibrations and everything. And I was like, that's powerful. So one of the things that I always kind of say to myself that I've been taught by my elders is like, the ancestors are watching. And what does that mean? It just means that you've been put on this earth for a purpose. And what are you doing with your life? Are you wasting it away, or are you doing something that can help other people? Es que estoy apasionado. I was an MC for several years. I started in hip hop, and I was influenced by that growing up in LA. That was a huge thing for me. And it was specifically talking about political, issues, things happening in the street that I'd see. And, people looked for that, they followed what I was doing. But I got older, time went on, and I was having different feelings and emotions. Love being a huge one, going through relationships. And yeah, I just felt like hip hop wasn't necessarily the outlet. I had to find another channel, and that was through, rock, soul, Salvi soul, as I call it. And that's why I ended up, doing Viaje Caliche. I ended up, creating like a solo project out of it. So that was the main reason why I, decided to, switch it over. It doesn't mean I'm never gonna rap again. I feel like it's important to include some of the basics, some of the things that really got me into music. But, I had to make a big shift with that. I would work a lot with producers, and I try to explain to them, look, I need something that's a little bit more down, a little sad, something a little more pick me up, kind of like party mode, something that's, a little bit more focused in on a more like harsh, kind of like raw feel. And yeah, I think every time I write, it's based on what the instrumental is telling me. Now in this thing I call Viaje Caliche and Salvi Soul, I write the instrumental first, then I go to the lyrics. If I have an emotion, I'm gonna play it on my guitar, and after I have that on the guitar and I have like the foundation of a song, the lyrics just kind of like flow out of me. It's kind of like a falling star phenomenon. We don't know how long we have on this earth. Each and every one of us on this planet don't know when our last day will be, but we have to show the light within us. We have to shine and let other people see that shine, and maybe even get inspired to do something like what you're doing themselves. So I got a friend, DJ Ozrock, who I initially reached out to DJ, and he was totally with it. He's big in the hip hop scene here in Portland. Yeah, we were talking. I remember I put out the flyer. It had kind of like a poster, image, and he ended up, without me asking him, printing them out, posting them up all over the city here in Portland. But unfortunately, I got the news shortly after, so we're talking like late May, that he was killed. So it was all on the news, here in Portland. K2's the big, news outlet, and they just found him on the side of the freeway off the 5, in Wilsonville. So it was really devastating, when we heard the news about our friend DJ Ozrock. As soon as I could find the time is figure out how we're gonna memorialize him, pay tribute to him, right? And so I reached out to some other DJs that were basically connected to friends I had. Shout out to Mike Crenshaw. He connected me with these DJs. And I found 4 DJs that were able to be at the show tonight to pay tribute to my friend DJ Ozrock and raise money for his family, So it's a benefit, and that's the plan tonight, is to raise money and give that to his mom. DJ Commissar, Northern Draw, DJ Diosa Ways, and DJ Low. It's a somber mood for myself and I think other people, but at the same time, we want to bring a good show. We want to lift our spirits up in community with each other, and that's what I plan to do, is create a lighter vibe, something where people can connect and express ourselves in a good way. And you know what, DJ Ozrock would have wanted that. He was a happy guy. He liked to joke around all the time, man. So memorialize them in that way, and bring that happiness back to our hearts, because we're still here and we could continue that legacy as well. We're gonna light it up tonight for you, Rock. And don't stop. Studio was like a spiritual experience. I think Donald, he's a humble dude. He's actually, Buddhist. He practices what he preaches. He's got a lot of experience. He's been in the game for 20 plus years. And when I came in recording Solstice, my first album, like I needed somebody to be real with me. And this guy has a way of being real with you and still making you laugh at the same time, and we had fun. But we, did some amazing work. He's a very patient guy. I learned a lot from him. That's all I could say, And so he'd tell me like, look, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Like, even though it's one take studios, man, we never did it one time. Maybe I've got one or two songs that I've done in one take out of like, the 20 plus that I've recorded there, It's really good to have a friend like that I could confide in. The space was amazing. You got the beach right there. I currently live in San Pedro. And he grew up there. The timing was perfect. I feel like Creator, presents the right people at the right time to make it work, and so that's what happened. It took almost a year to record it, but we got it done, and I got some really, really amazing response to it. So.
Station number 1, and I am a saxophone player, flute player, DJ, actor, good vibe technician, and also an engineer here at my studio called One Take Studios. I'm a military brat. My dad was in the Air Force for over 25 years, so that led me to travel around the world growing up. I was born in kind of like Central California, Vandenberg Air Force Base, near Lompoc and Santa Maria, California. And then after that, I moved to Germany for about 3 years. And then after that, I moved to Oklahoma for about 4 years. And then after the Oklahoma stint, my dad got stationed out here to Los Angeles. And I've been pretty much, the first year I moved to LA, I lived in Hawthorne for about a year. But then after that, I pretty much stayed in San Pedro. Hawthorne, I was beginning the 8th grade, so I guess I was probably around 14 years old, or 14 years old. Well, actually, I moved to Hawthorne in the fall of '88. Came from Oklahoma, small country town. It was basically one high school, 2 junior high schools, 4 elementary schools. And then all of a sudden, my dad was stationed in El Segundo. So before we moved to the housing in San Pedro, we had to live off base. So that was in Hawthorne. And for my dad, Hawthorne was just down El Segundo Boulevard. He was to work. Actually, pursuing music, I started playing the saxophone when I was in 6th grade. So I've always loved music. I used to watch Happy Days with Richie Cunningham playing saxophone with his homies in a band. I used to watch Monkey episodes, and those two shows and those guys having those bands made it seem like it was so much fun. I was thinking, when I grow up, I want to be in a band somehow, some way. But regarding music, my first love would probably be reggae and hip hop. I heard Musical Youth as a youngster. I heard Pastor Dutchie, fell in love with that song, and then I heard some hip hop, and ever since that, I've just become a hip hop head. So when I moved back to California, Los Angeles in particular, I remember hearing about KDAY on the AM station. And from Oklahoma, we just had top 40 stations, pop stations. So I had no culture really where I was at in Oklahoma. So I was so happy to get to a town of Los Angeles and listen to some true hip hop that I only get tapes from my relatives who live in Houston, Texas. And that's a whole different style. But you know, they play some hip hop from Cali. I was like, oh, I just can't wait till I can hear hip hop all the time. So I was really excited about that. I got really serious probably in high school. That's where the dream actually started. Because like I said previously, I wasn't really exposed to too much music living in Oklahoma. But in my 8th grade year, before I moved to San Pedro, I auditioned to go to high school in Los Angeles. It was called Hamilton Music Academy. And I was part of the first 9th grade class in that particular music magnet. So that hooked me up with a whole bunch of musicians from all over LA. And it was like top of the line musicians. The majority of the people who hung around high school are professional musicians today. And seeing them in high school, starting bands, being in bands, having fun, like I said before, that's what I want to do. And at that time, I was like entering hip hop, and then my buddy from Eagle Rock, Anton Morales, drummer. He was a drummer of Yes Ska from Steady Beat Records. Great ska, Latin ska band. He turned me on this band called Fishbone, and Fishbone was a catalyst for me to go from, as me listening to hip hop and popular music. That band got me into ska, got me into funk, and more rock and roll. So it got me into more expanded music. So I want to thank Fishbone for blowing up my mind. But let me go back to the reason why I got this studio is because out of high school I started a band called Melting Pot. And Melting Pot is a ska, funk, reggae, jazz, jam. Just like the title, we are a melting pot of music. And I started that group, me and my buddy Jay Marfizo started that group around 93, so right out of high school. And which fast forward to this place, I got this place because I needed a place for my band to rehearse. I needed a place for my band to jam out. And before I got into recording, the guy who owned the studio moved out, and the opportunity arose, and I was like, let me jump on it because I need a space to keep my music going with my friends, my best friends. A buddy of mine, Daryl Stiff Dog Rubio, liked us. He signed us to his label, Stiff Dog Records. And Stiff Dog Records was started with the help of Luis of Steady Beat Records. And he was a Wilmington guy, lived in San Pedro at the time, South Bay area. And through Daryl Rubio, that's how I met Luis Correa. I believe I met you through King Steady Beat. Luis Correa, he brought you to the studio because you were interested in recording with him. I remember you specifically wanted to put out a single with a Steady Beat, and I think at the time King Steady Beat wasn't feeling you because, like you said previously, you were a beginner, you were a new guy, you were just getting started. I told Jose to do it independently. Follow your dreams. You hear the music, you don't have to rely on anybody right now. This is modern times. You can release your music on your own. It's totally self-independently. This is the perfect time to do that. As long as you invest the time and your energy into your projects like you did, my man. You did good. I'm just a humble human being who loves music, and my thing is that I love music and I want people to do well. I wish well for other people. So when you come to my studio, I want to make sure I get the best out of you, because that's what I expect out of you. That's what I hope you expect out of me. Do your best and be honest and open and be willing to see where the music takes you. Out here, but this is kind of like my pictures right here. People who've come in here. The first group who came in the studio was my ska band, the Allentons, and it was through Lewis of King Steady Beat. He got me into that band, the Allentons, And of course, got Hip Hop Project SD Dub, got the Commons, got the blues great Chuck Alvarez. These are my homeboys Kev and Marv of Full Scope. They were an R&B band here in Pedro. He used to back up a band called a hip hop group called DC Click, and they're a whole bunch of brothers from Dodge City, right here in Pedro. We got Spaghetti Cumbia, Steady Beat, my man Jose. We got right here. This is Lonnie Marshall of the band Weapon of Choice, and this is Vicky. And Vicky was the vocalist for Red Hot Chili Peppers. A lot of the early recordings you've heard, she sang on those records. And Lonnie is just a L.A. funk staple. Great, great bass player, great, great vocalist.
It takes a lot of courage. It's one of those things where you realize I need control over what I do, and coming from being an MC and doing that all by myself, I learned to be independent from the get-go, but I won't lie, like I was thinking about jumping on a label, getting promotion, that way getting my name out more through like a record label, I sat down with an independent record label and we talked about a record deal. They presented me, what they felt would be a good deal, a good contract, and I declined it. I didn't really like what they were proposing. They're gonna stay nameless, but basically they wanted a certain percentage, but then on top of that, they wanted to kind of change and rearrange one of the songs and the singles that I put out, which is One Last Time. That specific single, I made records and I sold out of those records, in 2 weeks, and I shipped them out to Indonesia and Texas and everything. So they sat down with me because of that song, but they're like, you know what, I want to change this and that. And I was just like, I don't think so, I think it's good the way it is. And what I do know about changing a song, when somebody else is involved in writing it, they take part of the writing credits, they take part of the rights to the song. I felt like I didn't deserve that, I felt like I had to keep 100% of that because I put in the time and effort. So, I just realized, what, I could do this by myself, I don't have to necessarily rely on the label to do my music. I just got reaffirmation, I got that affirmation from people at shows, online, the love I get online on social media. And so that's why I decided to just keep doing what I'm doing, shout outs again to Donald, to Luis, Steady Beat Records, who introduced me to Donald, because I've been doing it. You're still, having experiences that are super modern, high tech. You've got internet, you've got like cars that drive themselves. Like, what am I doing making songs that like people listen to in times where they had like Model Ts and stuff like that, right? Those are the things again that I grew up with. Growing up, I listened to K-Day a lot, And if people know K-Day back in the day, so I'm gonna date myself, but up until I'd say like the mid 90s, K-Day was Motown. The stuff that you'd hear in the 60s, a lot of that doo-wop stuff, back even from the 50s and before, Richie Valens, all of those songs really made an impact on me as a kid. And whatever makes an impact on you as a kid, you have for the rest of your life. You never forget it. Right, so it's nostalgic. I felt like I had to be true to that because, if I want to make something that people are gonna remember forever, then it has to come from that place. So yeah, that's why I do it. It just, like I said, it feels natural to me. But then again, I want it to sound like something you'd hear nowadays, like that you can hear on the radio. Something that's a little more polished, that has a little bit of influence from modern times. My last song, Estoy Apasionado, has like a reggae hook. I literally took something that was a ballad and I flipped it and made it modern. I feel like that's the intent. It's like, it'll take you back there, but it's still something palatable, to anybody that listens to music.
Yes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, I had an all ages show in Long Beach for Cinco de Mayo, and it was like 18, 19, 20-year-olds, you know what I mean, early 20s folks there, and like, what's that all about? Like they're following, I feel like, what their parents, were listening to, how they dress, and like you were talking about lowriders, and it's, again, like I said, something that's timeless. That's great because that's part of our cultura, that's part of our culture, It's like we have to keep all of those things alive because it's a part of us, part of our heritage. And, I think it's amazing, I think it's cool that kids are listening to all these records that I'm talking about from the 50s, 60s, 70s. I think it's important for us, again, to be true to our roots, and this is all a part of it. And again, coming from like a more like grown-up perspective, I know that there are negative parts of our culture, right? And I think a part of it is you can't talk about like lowriders without talking about like gangs, without talking about like violence. That's something that I hope the youth aren't really trying to replicate. And times are different, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of folks aren't really active out there, but I just appreciate, again, a lot of the love I get, even from the younger generation, that are like, that's amazing, I love your sound. I try to keep it true to my roots, and that's what it's all about, man. It's one big familia.
That's right. Came back from El Salvador. Now we're here in Long Beach, going to Portland next month. Much luck to everybody that's been following me, that picked up the record. One last time, sold out in 2 weeks. So now we're just hitting the road. I appreciate all of y'all for showing love.
Well, number one, I identify as an indigenous person. I trace back my roots to the Lenca, the Maya Lenca from El Salvador, the eastern part, La Union specifically, the town, but have gone back to El Salvador several times and talked to some family members, just gotten more information about, what history there is there, what customs, and there's still a lot I don't know, but, I have a lot of Native American friends, and I've been able to express my spirituality through Native culture. I think Temazcal Sweat Lodge is a huge part of it. It's just giving me a lot of perspective on everything in life. I take every interaction I have, and really embrace it, for what it is, and try to stay present in the moment. I think that, we're all human beings, we all make mistakes, and we all can learn from them, right? Hunapku tells us, tú eres mi otro yo, you are the other me. And so I try to treat you with respect because of that, and we're all human, and again, like I said, we can learn, we can grow. I realized at a young age, like I said, because I've been making music for a while, that Creator gave me a gift. Not a lot of people can make music and express what's deep within their soul to other people, to the masses. And I don't take that lightly. I think it's important task. I take a lot of responsibility in what I do. So when I'm out there, again, I put all my heart into performing or recording. People can relate, and people have come up to me before and they've said, hey, like, I've been through a breakup like that. It was a tough period in my life. And listening to that just kind of made me feel like there's life after.
I'm always open to collaborating and really like giving 100% of whatever I do, and being true. So, but yeah, Arthur, man, thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I think, as we always start, we start with that little blessing, that medicine from our ancestors, that copal, that medicine from the trees, reminding us to be rooted, just to bless ourselves off in a good way. I want to thank you, bro, for always including me in your musical journey, bro. That's how I met you.
That's right.
I saw you up on stage.
Yeah, that's right.
And that energy and that that both political, but just also that creative energy was beautiful. So I always want to appreciate you for for being there, for always reaching out, for being part of my circle, brother. It means a lot to me. I love you, bro.